And so today, as we kind of preambled in, we were talking about 99 problems in personal branding and making sure that by the end of this discussion, your brand is not going to be one of them. So one of the first things you might be thinking is like, well, I'm not a rapper. I don't need to worry about my brand like Jay-Z does. I don't need to think about that in the same way. Why are you using Jay-Z as an example? But it's really interesting for me because when I was thinking of a cool title, Jay-Z popped in my mind. I'm like, ooh, 99 problems on brand ain't one. That's pretty cool, right? And I think I suffer from spontaneous lyrical combustion. And what I mean by that is I could see something happening and all of a sudden a lyric pops into my mind. It may not be Jay-Z, but something pops into my mind. And I have that, and you know, when you think of 99 problems, you know, you start to kind of head bob, you start to feel the experience, you feel the influence of that experience. And isn't that what we want? To make sure our brands have that vibe associated with the memory, associated with the influence. And we think about that, and we think about, well, yeah, I'm not a rapper, but don't I want to be remembered every time there's the right opportunity for my brand? So this is what personal branding is really about. And I wanted to explain to you, just take it a little bit back for you, my first experience with a personal brand, with a brand, the word brand in general. And I was going to a party, and I said, Mom, I need to bring chips. We need to bring something to the party. So I was like, okay. My mom came home with the no-name brand chips. I'm looking at her like as if she lost her mind. Mom, I can't bring the no-name brand chips to the party. I can eat those at home by myself. I can put them in a little plastic bag with no name on it and bring them to school and eat them. But the yellow bag, the no name, I just can't do that. And I think about the feeling. And the stories, to make a story short, I ended up buying the real chips and leaving the no name brand chips at home because I felt good. And that's what we want as well. So we want people to feel good about our brands and get your swagger back with your brands. And so throughout this presentation, you will see the random, not so random Jay-Z lyric pass by and how he's just influenced this talk for me and how his brand has infiltrated mine. But yes, that brand experience, that feeling that I'd be so embarrassed if I brought the regular chips. I know it sounds a little bit elitist and classist, but I'm just keeping it real. That's how I felt. So branding is a feeling. And now with so much out there, and specifically we're going to be paying attention to the digital sides of our brand, how do you stand out amongst all those LinkedIn profiles, amongst all those Twitter profiles, Facebook, Google+, everything, YouTube, it's all overloaded, so you have to find a way to stand out. And even when you're thought about opportunities, and depending on what you're going to use to share your brand with others, we have to find a way to make ourselves different. And here's the deal. We are all being Googled all the time. Because when do referrals happen? Most of the times when we're not there. It's one of those, hey, oh, I know someone who'd be able to do that job. Oh, you need a speaker? I know Cher, she'd be great. And those things, I'm not there. I can't sell myself. But our brands are open 24/7 because we Google people. I don't know about you, but every single time I don't know somebody or I'm going to be introduced to somebody or somebody mentions the name of a speaker or not necessarily a competition, but someone who's also doing the same thing that I'm doing, I Google them. And I want to see what I find. And a lot of times, if there's an opportunity for you and someone's talking about you, they'll say, hey, take a look. It's no longer, here's her phone number, here's her email, here's this. No, it's look what we can find right now. So your brand is open 24/7, and we need to be responsible for that. And our goal is to not only influence, but also to align the perception of what people think of your brand. So we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. I always find these memes so funny. And, you know, when it comes to entrepreneurs, what my mom thinks I do, and then what my friends think I do, what investors, everybody. But we want all these people. I love the bottom part, what I really do. As an entrepreneur, it's like, please, somebody call me. But I hope that then they look me up, they find me, and they're like, oh, yes, I'm going to call her because her brand is straight, and that's not a problem. So what we want to make sure is that everybody's perception, like this is not good. Everybody has a different perception of our brand. We want to align that and influence how people feel when they find us. So what I'm going to take you on is a little short journey. Of course, this is a shortened version. It's that high-level stuff that you can take home and really start thinking about how you are going to brand yourself. And I'm going to take you through an amended process, because I have 20 or so minutes to speak, so we've got to keep it real. And our first part is defining who we are. So I'll go through each one of these processes in a moment, but the first part is defining who we are. So we're going to ask a lot of questions, try to figure out what we bring to the table, how other people perceive us, and everything else in between. Second, we're going to audit what's already there, because people are looking us up. Do we know what they're finding? So it's very important that you spend the time auditing your brand, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that process and what you need to do. The third is creating. So creating that brand. You've done the work of defining, you've looked into what's not aligning with your brand, but also we want to see how can you create that brand of your own that represents you authentically. And finally, engaging. So how do you connect with those people that can bring you something, and also how do you connect with the people that you can give something to? Because you come with a lot of skills, and you always attract bees with honey, don't we? So you want to make sure that you can give back and know who you're engaging and connecting with. So the first thing we need to do is to be able to define ourselves and really define who we are. And I think Jay-Z did a really good job, especially in this lyric, is defining he's not just a businessman. He's not just a rapper. He's a businessman. And sorry, I'll be kind of rapping, although I'm not a rapper. So we look at these. So I mentioned that there's questions in order to define your brand and define who you are. And so here are just a few of them. What do I bring to the table? So you need to look at your skills. And the thing is, a lot of people get worried because it's like, well, I'm doing two different things, or I'm doing this and that. All those skills are still transferable. All those skills make up who you are. So you want to make sure you bring those skills together, you're aware of those skills, and also your personality traits, your attitude, everything. And sometimes we're going to, along the way, have to make a few attitude adjustments as well. But what do we bring to the table that makes us a benefit? Because we're all individual and unique packages. So you literally have to spend the time recognizing your skills, recognizing your strengths, and your experiences. You have to really take a good audit of that. Then, what do you think of me? So not only do I know what I think of me, because self-reporting is a very interesting stat as far as what people think of answers when you self-report what you think. You need to know what others think. You need to know their perception, and ask people you trust. Not everybody likes you. You don't have to like everybody, and that's fine. But you need to know what is the general perception. What do people think of you? What do people perceive you to be? Because it's all about aligning that perception, and you need to know if there's anything negative. If people think, well, I think you're kind of lazy because you don't get things done on time, or whatever the case may be, you need to know that, because that's a part of your brand that you're going to modify. Then you need to know what people think that are great about you. Recently, one of the consistent comments that I've been getting back is, wow, I love your energy. So energy seems to be a part of my brand. I consistently get that. That is what I bring. Probably I'm more than a spark plug. I just explode. But that is part of who I am, and I need to own that, because that's who I am. So yeah, don't bring me in a quiet room. I'm not good for that. And recognizing that as well as a brand strength or weakness, depending on the situation. And also, you need to know, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve through this process? Because let's be frank, personal branding, consistent personal branding where you are actually trying to achieve something actually takes time. You need to spend the time, and you need to know why you're spending the time, and your goals will define that for you. And as well, how can you help them? So how can you help the other people that you're trying to help? You bring all these skills together. You need to know what you bring to the table so you can help others. You need to know that when you're talking to somebody, I can help you, because that's such an awesome thing, because people want to know, oh, I'm bringing you on my team because you can help me do this. You can do that. You need to know how you can help, and you need to be able to articulate all of these questions and have these answers and make sure that they are part of your brand. And knowing is half the battle. So, I'm sorry, I laugh at my own jokes, but that's part of me. But any G.I. Joe fans out there, they'll get that one too. And once you've defined your brand, you need to know what's out there. And that's always a scary thought for some people. The fact that you're going to go out, and because some people, I meet more and more people who are not impressed with their digital past. And they're afraid of it. They're afraid that it's going to cost them jobs. A lot of people still don't have a digital past. So the other thing is, well, if there's nothing about you, is that a good thing too? Well, because I've had people walk up to me, well, I'm not worried. I don't have anything online. Is that a good thing either? No. And the reason why it's not a good thing, if I can't find anything about you, on to the next. So what you want to do is you want to start with a search. So Google your name. Google your name and go, don't just start at, okay, I see nothing, I'm good, check. No, you need to go back. And Google offers so many different options. We can check images, we can check news, we can check all these different tabs, and they all bring different results. So you want to make sure that you're checking everything. You want to not just check your name, go, you know, for example, me, Cher Jones Toronto, Cher Jones social media trainer, Cher Jones, because different results happen. I'd even challenge you to go on somebody else's computer, because Google now starts to recognize what we search, and it will tailor the search based off of how you use Google. So you need to see what's out there. Go on a library computer, go somewhere else so you can see what else comes up. And also your old email addresses. I have a story. I used to be, a long time ago, I was in sports broadcasting, and when I got my job, I used to work with Raptors TV, and when I applied for my job, I used an email address called asksportschick@yahoo.ca. A long time ago. That's one of my old personas, but they actually called me because they wanted to ask sports chick. But the reason why I bring up this opportunity or this question is because when I Googled ask sports chick, because I used that as a username, what happened is I found other things that I was signed up for and different things that were applied to that name. And not that I had anything to hide, but it's something that was there and part of my identity. So you need to know what's out there. So your old username, so I was sports chick like everywhere. And go back 10 pages, check the images, check everything. So go ahead.
Can I ask about that 10 pages?
Yes.
What do you find sort of between 10 and 20 pages?
I mean, you may, if you want to go back 20, go, but.
Is that for you like the outlier?
Possibly. I mean, you may find something, you may not. It depends on how much you have online and where you are. A lot of people, for me, I have worked to be on page 1 really, really, really hard. So, I mean, I could honestly go back 7 pages and a majority of it will be me. And that may be just because on my computer, but generally I can find it.
Can I comment? You're going to find who steals your stuff.
Yes. Yes.
You're going to find who is grabbing your stuff, using your name, taking your videos, putting their own name on it. It's a really interesting search.
Okay.
Yes. So, I mean,
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, so I mean, you will find, you may or may not. It really depends on how much you have out online, but definitely, if you're interested, keep on going. And so the other thing you need to do is you need to go through your social media accounts. Because, you know, Facebook's been around for a long time now. We've liked a lot of groups in our past that may not identify with us. We have some old pictures that we may not like, that may not associate with our brand anymore. And I do a lot of panels with employers and talking about social media and using social media to get a job. They are not concerned if they see 1 or 2 pictures of you with a glass of alcohol, but if they catch you chugging the goose and you're on the floor and you're passed out, that might be another issue. So we want to make sure that we just recognize what's out there, look at old pictures. There's a lot of things that I like. There's a lot of things that I find funny, but I won't like or share. Or just because of the name associated to the account. Like there's this one account called I Love Effing Science. But because I see that, they're the funniest stuff, but I will have to either save the picture, and then if I think it's so funny, I have to share it with everybody I know. I will save the picture and repost it, but I will not post from their thing because I personally, and not to say swearing is bad because it might align with your brand depending on what you're doing, because you'd be surprised. There's certain brands where they expect that. You'd be surprised, but it's true. So, but I make sure that for my brand, I don't swear, I don't share anything sexually explicit or anything like that that may cause question on who I am and my character. So I don't do that. However, you just have to be aware of what you like, the names associated to the pictures and everything else, as well as pictures of you. And if you're playing Farmville all day or whatever the latest game is, and all you see on your profile is I'm asking for eggs, I'm asking you to buy me this, I'm asking you to buy me that, what are you doing all day? Asking people for stuff because you're not working. Okay, so you got to think of that and keep that in mind. Also, once you've audited your brand, you kind of removed and you talk to friends, say, hey, take this off. I really don't like this picture. Can you really do me a favor? Do me a solid, take that off, untag, do all that stuff. You may even want to monitor your brand. You can use things like Repler. It's interesting. Someone had swore on my wall, like, wow, that's the ish. And then I get this little message from Repler, just to let you know that you have objectionable phrases and language on your wall. But this is good because it sends me a message and it lets me know if there's anything that doesn't align with my brand. And I've had things where it did align, the swearing in the post, because it was all about bullying, and they had things like, if you call me slut, it means this. But because it was on my wall, Repler sent me a message saying, hey, just so you know, there's something that you might want to be concerned with. So I think it's a really awesome service. You can also set up Google Alerts. You can also just regularly monitor, Google yourself, know what's out there, because you need to know that. And also review your privacy settings. So you want to make sure that you see, oh, I'm sorry, you had a question.
So with Repler and stuff, my name seems a very famous porn star.
Yes.
So I'm still on page 1 in Google. But how do you work around things where someone has the same name as you and it doesn't align with your personal brand?
Absolutely. What a lot of people tend to do is rebrand with their middle initial. Everything you do and own will have your middle initial, because when I Google you and I will naturally, if I see your Cher K. Jones, for example, I will always, because everything I have, all my accounts say Cher K. Jones, everything else says Cher K. Jones, then it will separate you from the pack. It won't completely, because you can't control what else is out there, but what you have to do is align yourself, like separate yourself and align your brand under the same title. So that might be that's the biggest suggestion that I find works for most people, is just adding that middle initial and making sure your brand is consistent across the board. So LinkedIn, Twitter, everything has to have that. And that's one way.
Would you recommend using your real name?
Yes.
In terms of like identity and everything?
I think that that's a great question, because a lot of people are very concerned about online theft and identity theft, but there's just so much personal information out there at this point. I mean, if you were going to get targeted, it's just randomly that you get targeted or somebody actually knows you. I mean, everybody shares so much now, and I know that's not really an answer, but it's the truth. If you look at how much people share online, that's because someone actually targeted you specifically. So it's a scary thing, but it's like, how do you compete? So I know that's not the answer that everybody wants to hear. Well, here's the solution. It's not that easy, and I wish it were. You had a question?
Yesterday, I set up my Gravatar.
Yes.
Or avatar through Gravatar.
Yep.
And so there was this little tension between putting the picture in and associating my personal name with it, or not putting it in. Because putting it in is personal branding.
Yes.
Wherever I go. And put my comment on people's columns and stuff.
Right.
But there's still a little bit of a tension, because whatever comment that you're mentioning now, you may have a different position 10 years from now. So people can find out, let's say if you're in politics or something.
It's a difficult, that is definitely a difficult battle, because you have to make a decision on how are you going to use your brand and strategically use your brand. And a lot of people have to make that decision. And just like I choose not to share really funny stuff, even though my friends will get the joke, even though my friends understand who I am, but somebody else won't. And I can guarantee that. So it's really hard, and a lot of people ask me, well, can I have two identities? You know, the share for my friends and then share for everybody else. But there's so much crossover in our personal and professional lives that you just can't do it and manage it well. There will always be one part that is lacking because you're sharing so much of what we do, and this has become a part of who we are. It's become a part of our social proof of what we know and what we do, that we can't do that. So really what I'm telling you is you have to make the decision of what you're going to post on and what you're not. But I think it's so important to align your personal brand with your perspectives, your pictures, because if you are being strategic about your brand, when people are searching and they're seeing those intelligent, awesome comments about a certain issue, they're going to associate with that with you. And that's part of your social proof. So really what it becomes, it's a decision of how you are going to use your brand online. And some people choose not to. They're just like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I do this and my online brand doesn't matter. And that's just a decision. This is not me telling you, well, you should care. Honestly, I believe you should care. But that is a decision if you want to use it strategically. So before we move on, I just wanted to just talk about the privacy settings. Make sure you check your privacy settings because each social network we tend to use differently. Facebook is definitely more for the friends, enclosed network for the most part. Mine is pretty open because of what I do. But generally speaking, you want to make sure that you know what your privacy settings are. All of the networks, they now allow you to kind of segregate your comments, segregate who you want to post to. Be aware of that. And take a look at your counts when you're not logged in and see what's showing. Because that can really show you, because I've had so many people who, and you'd always do it on somebody else's computer. You know what I mean? And you take a look and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was showing all those pictures. Like I hear that all the time. And that's one of the biggest things. I didn't know I was showing all those pictures. And they're like, yeah, you are. So it's one of those things that you want to see when you're logged out. And then now it's time to create, oh, go ahead.
Just a quick note. I'm sure most of you guys know, but there is a setting in Facebook that will allow you to see your own profile if you were other people.
Yes.
Or specific people for that matter.
And Google Plus as well allows you to do the same thing. So it's really important. But then also even just on your own computer, log out and take a look because there's different settings. If they're logged in and they're checking you, even when you're logged out, you see a different screen than if you were logged in and you're a friend of a friend. Or there's so many different settings. You just need to make sure. And one of the things you want to do is you want to sell yourself, right? You want to make sure that when people look at you, they love you and then it aligns with what they're thinking. So again, my Jay-Z lyric, won't try to rap today because I am not a rapper. But it's interesting, when I started to think about creating a personal profile, it's a lot like selling a book. Okay, you can't sell a book without a cover, especially now in these days in Amazon. They talk to authors about how much time you have to spend with the cover, with the design, everything else. So does your profile should it really not have a picture? So that's what I'm saying with that. As well, you also have to keep in mind your headline is like a book title. It tells you what the book is about, and there's usually a subtitle. So those are things that you have to consider as well. And of course, we have descriptions. So I'll move quite along to and I'll get into that a little bit more. So I want you to guys to think of your profiles like a book and selling that book on Amazon and how you use Amazon to find books that you are looking for specifically. It's a very interesting analogy. So you need to know the key words. So you did some interesting work in the beginning when you were defining who you are. Well, how will they find you? What would someone search if they wanted to find someone like you? Just like if I were looking for a book on Jay-Z, it's easy for Jay-Z because he's Jay-Z. But what is it I'm looking for specifically? How are people going to find you? Maybe that's part of your job title. Maybe that's part of the work you do. You want to know these words so that you can bring them into your profiles because, again, people are looking for you. As well, you want to go deeper. So you want to include links. So links to your other social media profiles. And again, I'll be able to relate this back in just a moment. So right there we see a link to more information about Zach O'Malley, the man who wrote the Jay-Z book. And also you want to have suggested action, in other words, a call to action. So maybe connect with me. You want to make sure you're telling people, hey, it's okay to connect with me if that's what you want, if that's part of your goals or what you're looking for. And tell people what to do when they get there in a nice way. And also detailed summaries. The more details about a book, the more likely you are, because you have more information, the more likely you are to make a purchasing decision. So the more likely you are to make a connection decision. So all these things matter. So when you take a book and a personal profile view, it's still for sale, so to speak. So the profile snapshot, that's me. No kidding. What we see, generally speaking, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Twitter, whether most profiles, they have a snapshot. So right away, you have information that you can make a decision with. So it's usually your picture, your headline, your location. A lot of people say everywhere or the universe and stuff like that. That is one of the worst things you could probably do, because when opportunities happen and I want to fill an opportunity, I'm looking local. Right? Yes, there may be some people who are international and got the swagger like that they can just move around and say that. They're, you know, New York, California, Toronto, everywhere. I don't have it like that. People need to know that I'm in Toronto right now. And that really also helps people find you. And also, when you're looking to connect with people, I want to connect with people locally. I take the time and I actually meet with people. I love Starbucks. Starbucks is where business happens, or any other coffee place of your choice. But you want to know, when you make that conscious effort and decision to connect with people locally and build your network, which I'll talk about in a minute, I'm kind of like jumping the line here, it is amazing. Also, so your location and your links. LinkedIn offers you an option to customize your link, for example, as well as the other links that I share to my website, to my company. So you want to make sure that your snapshot is full. The minute one of these things are missing, the blink factor happens. When it's like, something's just not right. I don't know. It's like, it just makes you start to question. And the whole thing with marketing, whether it's a product or anything else, is you want the smoothest line to get to you. You want it to be, you don't want any distractions. So the minute something's missing, or the minute you call into question, like, you know, we see those spammer accounts and you're just like, that's so sketchy McSketchington, I just can't. You know what I mean? I just see those sketchy accounts and it's just weird. So you just can't do that. So you want to make sure that your information's there, especially in that snapshot. And then, you know what? You get time to reintroduce yourself, right? Because now you know what's out there. Now you know what's about you. You've defined who you are. You've set up your spaces online. And I'll talk to you a little bit about setting up your spaces in just a second. So allow me to reintroduce myself. And LinkedIn is definitely a must. I've talked about it before and why LinkedIn is... Well, I talked about it a little bit. I've talked about LinkedIn. But the reason why LinkedIn is the most important social website right now, and that's arguably the most important social media website right now, is because professionally speaking, this is where people are going to find out your professional, polished information about you. And we all recognize that LinkedIn's like your good side. You know what I mean? Because we recognize that and we know that, and that's okay. Because we are looking for information about you professionally speaking. There are over 200 million people on LinkedIn. Yes, I know there's over 1 billion people on Facebook. But people on LinkedIn are looking to connect with purpose, connect with intention, specifically when it comes to professional endeavors and opportunities. And more people every day I see are in my own circle and sphere of influence are getting on LinkedIn and recognizing that, oh my gosh, I can no longer have this LinkedIn tombstone. You know, you set it up in '88, forget it. Well, not '88, 2008, and you forgot it. You know, you just set it up. Here lies the career of Cher Jones that is dying in cyberspace. No, we have to make sure that we are updating this information. It is so important. But everybody always asks, so where else do I go? Okay, LinkedIn, yeah, okay, I get that. Makes sense, you know, everybody's on there. It's a professional space, and at the same time, it doesn't require as much as other networks, although LinkedIn is now building into such a social network as well, whereas before it was like a place to kind of let your resume rest and relax and, you know, connect. But there are other networks. And I'm not going to sit here and say you need to be on Twitter, or you need to be on Google+. If you're in tech, you need to be on Google+. Or if you're in this business, you need to be on that. I'm not here to tell you that, because you need to fish where the fish are, okay? It doesn't make sense that I tell you, yeah, Facebook page, 12% engagement, that's for you. It doesn't matter about that. You need to go where they are. You can't build it and they will come to you. You need to go where they are, start engaging in those conversations, and figure out what makes sense to align with your brand. I mean, MySpace, we never know what that could come now. I mean, 2 years ago we laughed at it, but now with JT and the helm, and they're going through this whole new rebrand. If you're in comedy or music, you might want to be over there. You have to look, and if there is an alive social network, and it helps with what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve, what you want to accomplish, then go. And don't get caught up. There's so much out there. You know, you want to make sure, just like you want the right watch instead of the bright watch, you want to make sure that it is the right thing. Should I be vining? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? There's so many new things. There's always going to be a new thing every other day. So don't worry about that. You just want to make sure that it makes sense for you. And also, if you're going to invest the time in creating content that represents you, and so what you're doing, because some people are going to take their career, at least be on LinkedIn. But if you're taking your career and your content to the next level, you want to make sure you own where your content lives. So we put it out on all these networks, but tomorrow Facebook can say, sorry, we're charging, although they said they're not going to. Or Twitter is going to do something different, or whoever is going to do something different. And if your content is everywhere and not where you own it, then what's the point? Because you have no control over it. And don't you want to fish and then bring the fish back to you? So if you have an opportunity, you want to make sure that you own your URL, own your website. Don't just do it on the free sites. It's not that expensive. And it really adds to your brand. And then so I talked a little bit about content and valuable content. And it's always about relevance. It's always about what people are interested in, what you want to say that aligns with your brand, and kind of mixing it together and making sure that you are relevant. And so it's somewhere in the middle, because people are always wondering, what should I share? Well, what are people, okay, what aligns with what you're trying to do, your goals? What are people trying to accomplish? And it's that middle sweet spot that you want to get, that you'd be sharing and creating. So it's all about that. What's your bait to bring people back? And also, the last is really pretty much connect or engage others. You want to make sure that you are connecting with people. And how do you do that? Because a lot of people say, well, how am I going to talk to these people that I don't even know? I've been using LinkedIn, and that's why I'm a big fan of LinkedIn lately. One of the areas that I want to work in is in sports, so my career is going back in a circle again, but I want to work in sports, and I want to work with athletes in their brand. I want to work with athletes on how they share information. And they don't know how, their Twitter feeds and their Facebook pages, they're always one-sided. They know how to share one thing and one thing only, you know? But I want to help them develop their stories, because my background is in communications and PR, and I want to help them do that because I think that the mommy blogger model can apply to athletes. So all that to be said is I've been connecting with, in the early fall, I connected with the senior director of operations for the NBA, and I actually went to lunch with him, and that was just through a connection through LinkedIn. I literally said, hey, I'd love for you to hear my idea. I connected with one of the player development directors for the LA Lakers, had our conversation. And I mean, I have about 15 connections like this that I made simply because, and even players, like if you go through my LinkedIn connection list, you'll see who I've been connecting with. And they're genuine, authentic connections. They're not just people, oh, check, I'm connected. No, you want to build that connection. And also, so all that to be said is don't use that standard, hi, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn network. Or the more creepy, you're somebody I trust. Ever get that too? That is the most, it always creeps me out when I say, I'm just like, why would you pick that one? I don't even know how you got that one. But yeah, it really, it freaks me out. But that being said, you want to make sure you take the time. You've got 300 characters to fill when you make that connection request. It's part of how you influence how people feel about you and get the idea of what you bring to the table and know your goals. So ask them and you'll be able to get connected. And it works a lot better than, hi, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn professional network. It just doesn't work. And you also want to make sure that you are authentic and you are the real deal. You want to make sure that this is what you bring, this is who you are, and everything you share and do reflects you. And finally, you want to grow that relationship. So you want to make sure that like I talked about those local opportunities, I'm always connecting with people locally because I think it's so important that we go out. We do it's all good online, you know, keyboard to keyboard, but you really want the face-to-face and toes-to-toes. You want that connection in front of somebody, and that's how you build a relationship. And the more you put into the relationship, the more you can withdraw. So when you connect with people, as far as tactfully speaking, so we talked about making sure that you connect beyond the standard connection, because we don't want to be standard. We want to stand out. We want rock star brands here. We want people to feel good about us. But you also want to make sure that you are connecting with intention and that you're connecting to help. You can't say, hey, can you hook me up with that job? And this is the first time we're meeting. That's just not, ignore. That's what happens. I ignore that. Well, maybe not because I'm nice. But a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of recruiters, and they ignore those requests. But there may be ways to connect that conversation. And I saw a question over there.
Sort of a two-stage thing. One, trying to engage on a nurturing basis, that you come in very quiet and sort of drip, 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 whereas on another one where there's a much closer situation that you know that you're going to get the relationship right off.
I do both.
That's the question.
Yeah, I do both. It really depends. Like those people that I was connecting, like it was kind of like a dream, a hope and a dream, just putting it out there, see who connects with me. And it was surprising. It was just, I think it's about the story that you're trying to tell and what you're asking for. And really, especially when you don't have that relationship, you can't ask for much more than the connection. But it's just how you ask for the connection.
You also build credibility, and that is a really huge component of what you did as building your brand. Because what you did is you had cred in the space.
Yes.
You built other relationships in that space,
Mm-hmm.
and then you slowly got closer and closer and closer. And maybe at the point in time that you had lunch with the head of the NBA or whatever, or
Yeah.
you didn't visualize that maybe 2 years ago, but that started to evolve.
That's right.
Out of the connections that you had. So in a sense, you very organically developed your brand over a span of time. And that's why I think looking at yourself as a brand over the real long term is
Yes.
a really beneficial thing.
And you're exactly right. It is really important to make sure that, one, you understand the fact that it's not an overnight process, although some people, it actually happens to be an overnight process. But the fact is, it takes time to build your brand. It takes time to make those connections. And it also takes time to gain the confidence. Let me tell you, a few years ago, I might not have stepped to those individuals, but I know what I bring to the table. I know that it's like kind of like when someone gives you a referral, and it's great that they gave you the referral, but I have the stuff to back it up. I have the experience, I have the skills, and I'm more confident, but that takes time. So the one thing you want to do is make sure you define who you are. Take that time to define what you know, because that also helps your confidence, that helps you know what people think of you, and also change what people think.
What if you are 2-3 different things? Like you talked about corporate versus personal.
Mm-hmm.
What if a person is on a corporate side very corporate, like more on consulting, audit, financial policy, that type of corporate, and then other side is spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So if corporate people know that this person is very spiritual, it seems to kind of almost disalign.
Yeah, it does. And there's not an easy answer to that. It's one of those things where it's hard to mix those two together. And I don't have the best advice for you on how to do it successfully. Go ahead.
I think the best answer is just to ask profiles. If you want to share your spiritual things, please have a spiritual name chosen. I have multiple Twitter profiles, one for each business and one for different, like I'm an SEO guy, or I'm a technical guy, or I'm a lawyer. Those are different profiles.
But on the internet,
people will make the
type in
connection.
articles, they will know.
They'll find 1,000 pages. Most of them are not me.
The one thing you can do, because it is very difficult to separate the two, our personal and professional lives are becoming one, But the one thing you can do is when you're making the effort, because what you're doing is you're being culturally sensitive as well. So people will also recognize that. You are still making the choice to put that out there. And I'm sure as you do it, you know the ramifications that could potentially happen. And that's a choice that you're making. But also people will recognize that you're being culturally sensitive on how you have to make sure that, and that's a hard thing. So that's a longer conversation for another time, but it is something that is a challenge for a lot of people. And that comes back down to the audit. What do we find when we're out there looking? And as well, what are we creating from our profiles to the information that we share? And finally, the engagement. So building that confidence, building those connections, making those connections, and engaging and talking and building the relationship. So that's pretty much the branding process in a nutshell. And remember, your brand is going to change. Just like JC. JC's, look at this quote, right? He used to rock a throwback, and that means basically a jersey and a hat. And now he's got the suit. And that's who Jay-Z has evolved. So what that says to me and to everyone else is that it's okay as we grow, our brand will change. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's a good thing. So we want to make sure that we recognize we're doing this process here. We're doing this all throughout, because as our goals change, as our perception of ourselves change, we want to continue to ensure that our brand is aligned and people's feelings are aligned. The influence that we have over others when they check us out are all aligned. And finally, any questions?
When you're like, let's say changing yourself like as a brand, for example, my problem, I used to have a music blog and I used to do it for like 2 years, but now I just want to kind of establish myself as my own brand, what I'm doing now. But when I search myself on Google, I always see like my music blog stuff go up first.
Yeah.
So how can I reposition what I'm trying to do now higher than what I've done in the past?
Keep flooding the market with your content, because what you do is your most relevant content will always rise to the top. And as you start, and then it's also to do with, it depends on where the content lives and how you can adjust the SEO of the content, which is a longer conversation for another day. But it's all about keeping and producing more content. And that's what I say to a lot of people who have a negative brand to begin with, is get rid of what you can and then start flooding the market with amazing, awesome content that represents you. And that stuff gets pushed into page 5, page 6, page 7. Because when we're searching somebody on Google, we don't go past page 3 if we're lucky. You know, you got one. And what you're looking for is to climb to the #1 spot.
In terms of using your process,
Mm-hmm.
when defining yourself as a brand and owning your space, like creating your own blog, should you do that ahead of time, knowing what you want your brand to be, or should you do that in keeping in mind that your brand is going to change over time?
Your brand's always going to change. I used to be, and so continue the process, because it's still going to represent you. It's all transferable skills. It's all what you bring to the table, right? So you want to continue to do that. You want to continue to build. You're always going to be a work in progress, just like Jay-Z. So just continue. Don't wait, because if you keep waiting, it'll never happen. Any other questions?
Stand out in something like LinkedIn, where they can't really, let's say they don't have that much experience or like
LinkedIn, you can share so much content now. You can start sharing things that you're reading, because it's all about brand association. You may not have written it, but it appears that you have read it based off of your comments. Start commenting and collecting in groups, because that activity is going to associate your brand. You're going to associate your brand with that activity, and then you'll see it on other people's feeds, and they'll see you as well.
Would it be cheating to go on a site like Wikipedia and make up your own brand of your own self?
They won't allow it.
Allow that?
Yeah. You can get somebody else to do it. Well, just because I'm already way over my time, thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate, and look forward to serving. Thank you.